David George Brooke, that gratitude guy, has been a speaker, teacher, life coach, and best-selling author for over 25 years. He is a former Nordstrom store manager and has managed in the corporate world for over 30 years. His published books include The Worker's Daily Gratitude Journal, Happiness Starts with Gratitude, and Gratitude Nuggets to Chew On. He was recently featured on New Day with Margaret Larson on King 5 TV, and shared the stage with Bill Gates Sr. at a district conference. With over 450 gratitude videos posted on YouTube, oh, he's a YouTuber. That's pretty cool. Thousands have seen his message, and I bet it's more than that, and he is now considered a leading authority on gratitude and how living a life of gratitude can enhance and improve your life. Please welcome David George Brooke.
Thank you, Richard. And thank you, everybody, for showing up today. Thank you, Laura, for inviting me. I met Laura about 6 months ago. I want to start out by asking people by a show of hands, how many people here have suffered a significant personal loss in your life? Okay, I'd say about 2/3, 3/4. I get to do high schools. I go all the way from 18-year-old kids to 95-year-old people in rest homes. 18-year-old kids, half the people raise their hands. And I know the business that you're in, but I'm talking about you, not the people that are on the phone. And in the rest homes, everybody raises their hands, and you can think of the losses that they've had. I'd like to tell you very, very briefly about the significant personal loss in my life. It was September 29th, 1998. It was a Tuesday. I woke up, and I looked over, and Dana, my wife, was not in bed. I thought, that's strange. And just then, Connor, my 4-year-old, walks in and goes, "Where's Mommy?" I don't know. Kyle, my 14-year-old, same question. We don't know. So we look around the house and we walk down, we look in a couple of rooms, and we look downstairs in front of the washer and dryer, and here's Dana, crumpled over. She's all crunched up and it doesn't look good. So we run down there, I turn her over, there's stuff coming out of her mouth. Connor starts crying. I said, "Kyle, call 911. They were there in about 2 or 3 minutes. It was amazing. There must have been 20 people in our house, fire, police, everybody, medics, the whole thing. They had her out on the floor. I'd never seen anything like this in my life except maybe on television. Wires and tubes and those paddles and all the things that you folks get to deal with on a pretty regular basis, I'm sure. Well, one of the things I found, for those of you that raised your hand have been through something like this, time loses all measure. Time doesn't have any measure at all like it used to. And I wasn't sure how much time went by. They were working on her and just going away, bam, bam, bam. And this little short fire person, very sweet little gal, comes up to me and goes, "Mr. Brooke, we've been working on your wife for an hour and a half. We still don't have a heartbeat. Would you like us to continue?" And that moment is frozen in my mind forever. And I sat and I thought about it for a second, and I said, "No, you can stop." And she was dead. And she was 38 years old. And what made it so amazing to me is that wasn't the first loss that I had experienced in my life. My father chose to get a shotgun and end his life. My mother had died of cancer. My 2 best buddies died the night we graduated from school in high school in Seattle. And it just went on and on and on. And I remember walking up to the deck right above in the back of the house and just pinching myself and go, "I'm just flesh and blood. I don't think I can do this." We live by Green Lake in Seattle. It's not very far to the Aurora Bridge. All you gotta do is walk over there and just step over. It's done. And all these people had come to our house and they brought their cakes and their food, and everybody was neat. My family, everybody really converged on us for a couple of weeks. And of course they all go back to their lives after that. But during that time I was all by myself, and I realized for the first time in my life, now I understand why people kill themselves. I got it. So I thought about it for a few seconds, and I thought, wait a second, Dave. Connor's 4. Kyle's 14, their mom's gone. So now you're going to kill yourself. So now they're not going to have a dad either. And I made a decision right then. I'm not going to do it. And once you make a decision and you take something off the table, it is no longer an option. So from that day forward, it was never something I was going to do. But boy, I sure understood it. But I also realized through all these deaths, it does depend on how you look at it. I'd like you to all stand up if you'd be so kind. Hopefully you've had some breakfast and coffee and whatever. You can get stretched out a little bit. And what I'd like you to do is take your right hand, extend it as high as you can, and turn it in a clockwise manner. Now you can imagine in the high schools they have no idea what clockwise is. So I have to go like this. It's this way, kids. You know, it's like this way because they have no idea. Anyway, and just keep it going clockwise. Get a little stretch, and now start slowly bringing it down. Bring it down to your forehead, your eyes. Keep it going clockwise. Chin, chest, waist. Now what direction is it going?
Counterclockwise.
Counterclockwise. Thank you. What's your name?
Bill.
Bill. Thank you, Bill. Okay, you can sit down. There's always a few people that keep doing the thing with their hand, like, what's up with that? And I go, you know, Bill, thank you for answering. You get a little gratitude nuggets to chew on. You'd be surprised how many places. Which way is it going now? Which way is it going now? And people just don't say anything. It cracks me up. I'm not going to make you come up on stage. I have a fraternity brother. It's always giving me crap. He goes, you know, I've seen your little presentation, and frankly, I'm not that impressed. I said, well. And then he goes, so how does this thing work? Well, if you're not so impressed, how come you're asking me about this? I said, you could look at your glass and say it's half full or half empty, or you could do something like that. When you look at it above, it's clockwise. When you look at it from below, it's counterclockwise. It's very simple. It's just a matter of you get to choose every single day. And one of the things I feel very strongly about is I got into gratitude, which is the whole centerpiece, the linchpin of what I talk about, focusing on what you're grateful for in your life, what you have versus what you don't have. It completely refocuses how you look at things. So whether it's this or the glass or whatever, it makes a huge difference. So now, there's 3x5 cards on your table. You all grab one of those. My cards are also on there too. If you want to get one of those, you can. I do a 2-minute video I send out every Monday. If you want to jump on my website, that's later. Don't worry about it. I have a sign-up sheet out front with books and journals. They're the things I have. Get the 3x5 card. Get a partner. So you're going to need a pen and the 3x5 card and a partner. And there's no three-way deals here. This is like two people together. So if anybody has to switch tables, anybody, odd man out. Do we have an odd person here that could come over here? Anybody? How about one of you guys? Can you come over? Oh, we got somebody with her. Okay, so I get the good fortune of doing this on a pretty regular basis, so there's always people. We got 3 people. Just keep going, speaker. So, but I like you to have 2 people. So here's what I want you to do. On your card, upper left-hand corner, write these 4 words. I see you as. I see you as. Upper left-hand corner of your 3x5 card. And for those of you that are really speedy, write your partner's name in the upper right-hand corner. So you got I see you as, upper left-hand corner, your partner's name, upper right-hand corner. And lastly, sign your name in the lower right-hand corner. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you 60 seconds. And here's what I'd like you to do. Whether you know this person or not really doesn't matter. But I'm going to give you 60 seconds, and I want you to write as fast as you can how you see your partner. I see you as energetic, happy, whatever, motivated, whatever you see him. 60 seconds, go. About 30 seconds. Okay, and stop. So now there's always people that write a lot, and there's always people that don't write a lot. So I always feel bad for those people, like maybe there's nothing notable about them. So I'm going to give you another 60 seconds, 30 seconds each. I want you to read to the other person what you wrote about them. Go. 30 seconds each. Okay, and stop. Hopefully you each got a chance to read everything that was written. So now, exchange cards. So you have the card that was written about you. And hopefully you have a lot of things on your card. I've dealt with people that have just one or two, and I feel bad. But just look what the person wrote about you. I understand they just told you, but look at it in print. And I'd like to now ask yet again, by another show of hands, how many people might hold on to that card? Thank you. My talk is over. It's been great to see you. I'm kidding you. There have been places like one or two people raise your hand and go, what's wrong with you people? Look what somebody just wrote about you. The whole purpose of that exercise is it helps you focus on what you have versus what you don't have. Well, what did I just say about gratitude? Gratitude in the Gratitude Journal talks about what you are grateful for, your abundance versus your scarcity. So here's somebody that wrote a bunch of things, and I've done this exercise many, many times. I don't even know the person. There's several people I met. This Mary Sue, perfect example. Big smile, outgoing, just tremendous personality. You can tell I give her a huge hug, and she goes, ow! I just crushed her arm. She goes, I hear your talk's a little emotional. And she goes, yeah, I'm going to cry, not because of you, because you hurt my arm. And sorry, Mary Sue. But the point is, why is it we will say things to ourselves we never say to a friend? I've never understood the self-talk business. I've taken a lot of words out of my vocabulary. ADVICE is one I took out a long time ago. I don't give it, I don't take it. Thoughts, input, energy, that kind of thing, maybe. LOSER, another one I took out of my vocabulary. But we will say things to ourselves we'll never say to a friend. You could not write me a check for $1 million to go over to Laura and say you're an LOSER. That's why I like that exercise. And what it does, again, is it focuses on it. I would recommend you keep it as a bookmark or whatever. There's one from mine, I see you as. This was a gal I never even met. Confident, inspiring, respectful, well-spoken, and a bunch of nice, really nice things. Can you ever get too much of that? I don't think so. That's what embracing gratitude does. I love exercises because they give us actual, solid, tangible ways that we can tell how things will impact us. So that's why I like it. So I talk about 5 or 6 things, embracing gratitude. The next thing I talk about is you just can't give up. I do a lot of these videos, and as I said, you can get them on my website, so take a card or out where my books are, you can sign up and I'll put you on. They go out every Monday morning, minute and 45 to 2 minutes. It's a different subject every single week and what you should be grateful for. But one of the things I always end those talks with is, I'm the Brooker, that gratitude guy, be grateful and never quit. People quit all the time. And if you're grateful and you focus and you hit the reset button every so often and you step back and make minor course corrections, you have an embracing gratitude attitude and you never quit, you're probably going to have success. Connor, 4 years old when Dana died, struggled mightily. Kyle had a tough time too, but Connor was even tougher. They go to school and they said, your son's not right. I said, his mom died 6 months ago. Yeah, well, he's messed up. I'm barely hanging on myself. We lost my house. She was addicted to medication, prescription medication. Vicodin and Oxycontin, 2 of my least favorite words. 38, as I mentioned. So I have to hold him back in kindergarten, hold him back in 1st grade. It was tough. Even to this day, it's still tough to talk about it. But he wanted to play baseball. And I had to be the best dad possible because the mom, Dana, was gone. So he kept trying. Now, for those of you that have kids, I'm sure there's many of you, you're familiar with coach pitch and T-ball. Here's the T-ball. Connor can't hit the ball. The ball is on the tee. He's swinging up here. It was just tough to look at. And he's just, Dad, I'm swinging. He's just swinging away. I go, what are you doing up here? The ball, Connor, do you get the game? It's down here. So finally he adjusts all the way down to below the tee. He hits the tee. The ball dribbles off. He goes, Dad, I got a hit. I didn't have the heart to tell him that's how the game's played. He's like running to first base and stuff. That's not how it works. But like me, like Connor, like Kyle, like Connor, we just didn't give up. We just kept trying. And he would go and he would turn out year after year after year after year. Tough, tough thing to see. I'm sitting in the stands. I went to all the games, all the practices, never played, ever. Finally, we get to May 31st, 2005. He's about 11 years old. And they're playing the game, and they're out of kids, clearly. It's the bottom of the 7th. It's 7-6, the other team. There's 2 out. There's a guy in 2nd or 3rd, and the coach looks down to the dugout. There's nobody left except, guess who? Connor's sitting there like this. He goes, Brooke, come on out. So Connor comes out, he grabs a bat, and he starts swinging it like he's Babe Ruth. He's never had a hit in his life. And then he does something no kid ever does. Dad, I'm up! No kid acknowledges their parent in the stands. They want you there, but they don't want to acknowledge it. So he gets up and it's ball one, ball two, strike one, strike two. It's full count. Guys in second and third, two out, bottom of the seventh. Next pitch, he just rips down the third base line. Goes into left field. Guy from third comes in. The guy from second turns third, comes down to home. The ball comes in, the catcher. The guy catches the ball. They all crash at home plate. The ball pops out. They win the game 8-7. He's standing out in second base like this. Dad, I got a hit! To this day, the whole dugout comes out, puts them on their shoulders, carries them off the field. It's only been recently I could actually tell that story without choking up. Because I came home that night and sat him down in bed. God, it still gets me. I said, Connor, it was never about baseball. It was about the fact you never gave up. And I can look at every one of you guys' eyes and see people that have been through similar things. And if you don't give up, you'll make it. But you do need a vehicle along the way. And one of the things I recommend is gratitude and a gratitude journal. It's one of the things that's changed my life and changed so many people I've been fortunate enough to talk to. But Connor went on. He struggled in school. He graduated from Bothell High School 2 years ago. I know you guys can't see this very well, but here's his graduation picture. He's 6'2", about $180. He was the leadoff hitter on the baseball team, and he got a 3.6 average. And he graduated Student of the Year. So you just never know. And sometimes, I'm fortunate enough, he's down in San Diego in school now. Fortunate enough to have him with me, and I get to introduce him because his story and Kyle's story and mine are nothing more than saying these shoes have walked a path that is parallel to a lot of people. We cannot walk in identical shoes. I can't know what you've done. You can't know what I've done, but at least you can walk a parallel path. But when you understand the part about not giving up, it makes such a difference in the world. And I think clearly having this vehicle is why I'm so passionate about a gratitude journal or something that helps you. Richard mentioned color guard at a moment of silence. Law enforcement people, 911 operators, soldiers, military people, people that serve our country, all of you do. I've been trying to get into Fort Lewis for 3 years. And about 2 weeks ago, I did some workshops, this size maybe. I got invited to the suicide awareness meeting in September. And I'm going to be the guest speaker. 22 soldiers commit suicide every single day. And it's just not acceptable. In the time that I talk, I'll wrap up at 10:15. I started at 9:15. In that hour, another soldier will have taken their life. And it's just not acceptable. So, but you've got to have tools, and that's why I feel so strongly about gratitude as a way of life and never ever giving up. Now, one of the things that happens too is that we have these brains that get kind of clogged. So embracing gratitude, never give up. It takes as long as it takes. By the way, I'm 65 years old. I'm going to do this to 75, 85, 95. It just makes no difference to me how old I am. God willing is about the only thing I'd say as far as getting up to this age. Of course, it is kind of funny. I've always been a very high energy guy. When I was 20, or 30 rather, they said, you look 20. And when I was 40, they said, you look 30. And I was 50, you look 40. Then when I turned 60, you look 50. Now they go, how old are you? You go, 65. And they go, uh-huh. I go, don't you think I look a little younger than 65? Dang. But it's important because I look at the age range here. I mentioned from the high schools all the way to the senior living centers. By the way, speaking of the high schools, on the little I see you as card, I tried that in the schools and I stopped doing it. Because you know what a lot of the kids said? I see you as an idiot. And I go, no, that's not the idea. You're supposed to talk about, you're supposed to say all the good stuff. Not that they're an idiot. Gosh. But anyway, the reason I bring this up is I had this experience at Nordstrom, and when Dana died, I had this business which I lost, and we had to go live with a friend, and there's a lot of things that aren't worth talking about, but were very, very challenging. But I went to manage a Lowe's home improvement store, and I worked there for 2 or 3 years, and finally 3 years ago I said, you know, I've been talking about this long enough. I've been speaking on and off for a long time, but not with gratitude, not being the gratitude guy in the gratitude journal and this kind of thing. And you just have to hang in there. Colonel Sanders, 63 when he started KFC. Mary Kay Ash, Mary Kay Cosmetics, 58, I think it was 59. Ray Kroc, 57, McDonald's. J.C. Penney, 55. It goes on and on. So I don't care how old you are. Some people here that are pretty young. Some of us are a little older. I'm probably one of the older ones here. It doesn't matter. It's your journey, whatever that journey is. I was telling, I think it was Mary Sue again and Yvonne yesterday about, there's 2 dates we have in our life. The date we're born and that other date we don't want to talk about. And then here's this dash in the center. And somebody said to me one day, you realize that dash is your life. I said, that's a pretty good point. Well, I'm going to talk about it a little bit just before we wrap up about finding your passion in your life and finding your purpose. I believe that everybody on this planet wants to at some point find their purpose. But you got to start with what you're passionate about. So I finally decided one day I'm done. So I walk in on December 27th, 2012, about 2.5 years ago. And Connor goes, what are you doing home? I said, I quit. You quit Lowe's? You quit managing Lowe's? And I went, yeah. He goes, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to be a speaker. He goes, well, that's just super, Dad. And then he gathers himself and he goes, what are we going to do for money? And I went, I'll take care of that. I think I can figure this out at some point. Of course, I've been living on macaroni and cheese for 3 years, but whatever. But the point was, it doesn't matter where it is. 62, I'm now 65, it makes no difference. I see people all the time, well, you found your passion, or you've done this, or you're this age. It doesn't matter. Every single person's journey is individual. And one of the things, so I said this to Richard, people ask me all the time, where's your PowerPoint thing? I don't use PowerPoint. I'm not a big fan of PowerPoint. I've done churches and things, and they do pictures, and shows Dana and Connor and Kyle and things. That's kind of cool. But how do you get to look at people? How do you get to see faces and connect with people that maybe have had a tough time and maybe are looking for something themselves? But you've got to get rid of this junk in your mind. And when you go out today, I don't know how many of you drove in cars. I imagine the majority of you did. But really pay attention to the fact that this windshield here is about 2 feet deep and about 4 feet wide. And then this rear view mirror is about like this. You know what that means to me? That means mostly pay attention to what's in front of you. Keep an eye on what's behind you if you see flashing blue lights. Probably some people here. We know what that, pull over. We don't want to get in trouble. But mostly learn that little bit from the past and apply it to the future. I'm doing a workshop later today from 2:30 to 4:30. I do a lot of exercises in that. Every so often I get somebody that go, well, but Mr. Brooke, you don't understand, I had a really tough time, a really tough divorce. I go, well, I'm sure that's not easy. Well, it's been tough for me. And I go, well, now you're not like running over it, picking it up from behind you and putting it in front of you and running over again, are you? Well, sort of. When did you get divorced? 98. That's quite a while ago. Have you like processed that? So you got to get rid of this junk. I lived in a cul-de-sac once where these big square things are garages, cars are supposed to be in, and you drive by and the garage doors are up and they're just floor to ceiling boxes. It just cracks me up. I've never seen so much stuff in my life. And then there's like this little corridor where people you can see they have to turn sideways like a little thing, like to go down and get the right box. And I just don't understand that level of junk. Well, it's the same thing in your brain. How are you going to fill your brain with gratitude if you got junk? So whether it's old habits, old self-talk. There was a gal that I give away books. When I do smaller groups, I usually do business cards. And I just was fascinated by this gal because I go, remember her name? Julie Holmberg. Yay! And she just claps. She comes walking up to me. She gets the book. Usually those are about 75 or 50 people, 50, 75, something like that. I can't do it in a group this size typically. And she goes, you know, Dave, I win every time. I said, what do you mean? She goes, I win every time. Doesn't matter where the drawing is. My girlfriends hate me. And I said, Julie, that is fantastic. And she says, it's just my mindset. Now, does she win every time? Probably not. But just look at that mindset versus what somebody else. Hey, Bill, right? You want to go to Auburn Downs? Dave, I don't win with the horses. Well, maybe we won't. You know, but when you look at the difference in that mentality, how different it is. It's back to that scarcity versus abundance. Abundance is when you have gratitude working for you and so on. So one more quick thing on cleaning out the junk in your brain. How fast can you change? That's a question I ask people all the time. How fast can you change? Well, I need 30 days, I need 2 weeks, all this kind of thing. So I tell people about a little experience I had at Nordstrom where I was Mr. On the Go, and before I was a store manager and I was managing suits, and I just thought I was Mr. Cool, and I had my little briefcase, and I'm getting store department manager of the month and all this, winning all these awards, and Blake Nordstrom, all these guys knew me, and this guy pulls me aside in the lunchroom, because I need to talk to you. I said, what's up? And he said, I just want to let you know what the reputation is you have. What's that? You think you're pretty hot stuff. Well, first of all, let me just tell you something, Dave. You don't talk to anybody. You just walk around like you're something special. Now, we know you're winning all these awards, and you're Mr. Slick, you got the shiny shoes. But he was right. I wasn't talking to anybody. And so I just snapped my fingers and thought, you know what? If those escalators, they go like this, is that escalator going to go any faster or slower if I say hi to people from other departments? See how they're doing. How's Brass Plum? How's Lady Shoes? How's Collectors? How's Gallery? And I changed that fast. Well, that's how fast I think you can change. And I always tell people, if you really want to change your life, change your life. It's just that simple. So, but you've got to get rid of the junk, and it really does make a big difference. Gratitude journal. The name of this theme of this conference is It's All About You. Well, I'm going to talk about the gratitude journal, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the relationship you have with you too, which ties into gratitude. So this buddy of mine, he knows how often I talk, and he always says, do you say my name in front of the groups? Like, if you want. If it means a lot to you. His name is Bob Corsetto. And he goes, you know, you've kind of been a mess since Dana died. I wasn't right for a long time. We lost our house, we lost money, we lost everything. We were living with a friend. It was horrible. But I kept clawing along and thinking that, you know what, you can't give up. So he says, you need to get a gratitude journal. So I said, first of all, how many people here have heard of a gratitude journal? More, that's a few. It seems to be more and more. I had not heard of one. It's a journal you write in every day about what you're grateful for. So I got one, put it on the shelf, and didn't even look at it for a couple months. Finally decided to write in it one day. And I started noticing what happened in my life. Really, really changed things. So I got really enthusiastic, and I thought, I need to do my own. The Brooker's Daily Gratitude Journal. There's a little saying right at the top. It says, if you think about it, it's like a dream. If you talk about it, it inspires you. But if you write about it, it empowers you. Now we're in a world, where's Richard? I noticed Richard had a tablet back there, and we don't do as much writing anymore. But there's a lot of surveys that have come out, even on the tablets, this kind of thing, it does not connect with the brain like writing does. There's something about that thought in your brain up here, the CPU, that goes down to your heart, to your arm, to your hand, to your pen, to the paper. I am so grateful for Bill saying counterclockwise. Bill goes, quit picking on me. But the point is, it makes a connection. So I did my own, and I started writing, and I thought, wow, and I started to really see a difference. And when I talked to those soldiers, and when I talked to the one in September, will be about 10,000 soldiers, if I changed one life, it was worth it. And that's how I look at it. So I offer this gratitude journal as a phenomenal tool and a toolkit to help you get through. Now think about some of the people that are on the other end of the phone line that you're talking to. Some of those horrific things that have happened, and how are they going to survive? I don't necessarily know, but I offer something like this as a tool. And for somebody who's in a high stress job, like you guys are, law enforcement, 911, it doesn't matter. I think we're looking for tools because too many people are dying, and too many people are taking routes that are destructive and deadly to try to cope, because we're all looking for a coping mechanism. So I will tell you briefly how this is my actual journal. And it always makes me laugh because I sell a lot of these journals, and then people go, oh, this is yours. And then they see me write in, here's today's entry, you know, June 24th, I put APCO conference keynote at Kennewick. And they go, wow, you write in this every day. And I look at them and go, have you been listening? No, I don't write in every day, but hey, I want you to. It'll work really good for you. So the key is how many people understand it. Some, a lot, doesn't matter. But the way this is set up is at the very top it says the day and date, Wednesday, June 24th, etc. There's a daily number, which we'll come back to in a second. There's 2 lines for what's going on in your life, special occasions, current events. And then there's about 6 or 8 lines for what you're grateful for, the highlight of your day, and then your gratitude intentions, which is what you're going to be grateful for that hasn't even happened yet. I spend more time on that in the workshop in the afternoon because it's very, very powerful. The daily number. The daily number is a number from 1 to 10. 10 is the best day you've ever had, or one of the best days, and 1's one of the worst. And it marks how you feel in it. You can rate it and keep track of it, and then what you write in it. And So now what I want you to do, so we're going to do a little experiment on this. Take your 3x5 card, the one you're going to hang on to, thank you for almost all raising your hand, and flip it over. Now this is just you, yourself, and I don't want you to talk to anybody. This is nobody's exercise about you. Every so often I hear people giggling and they're going to say, no, don't be sharing. This is just you and the person in the mirror. Because that relationship you have with yourself is the most important relationship you'll ever have, as I said earlier. So here's what I want you to do, 1 to 10, before you've even thought about anything. Flip the card over, upper left-hand side. I want you to think what your number is. 10's the best day of your life, 1's the worst. And this is why I don't want you showing it. It's nobody's business except yours. Whatever that number is, put that number in the upper left-hand corner, right? And you can do halves if you want, 7.5 or something. But put that number in the upper left-hand corner and circle it. Okay, so you've got that anchored in there. Now, in the middle of the card, you're not going to need a lot of space. If you could only pick one thing you're grateful for, I want you to write down what that is. Sentence, word, person, just write that down. And for those of you that are speedy, then the second thing, walked off, is what's the second thing you're most grateful for? Number 2. There's only one thing and then only 2 things you could pick. What would that be? And the last thing, thirdly and lastly, you got to think about this a few minutes, whatever time it is, 10 or something. What was the highlight of your day yesterday? What was the best thing that happened to you yesterday? Yeah, I might have to think for a second, but, and then write that down. Okay, and then of course I always have to gauge the various speeds of people, and who knows how fast they'll be, but for those of you that have written it, just reread them real quickly, and just think about your mindset. The number 1 thing you're grateful for, the second thing you're most grateful for, and the highlight of your day yesterday. And see what your number is, and whatever that number is, put that in the upper right-hand corner after you've read those 3 things you just wrote. So you should have your first number, first and second thing you're grateful for, and the highlight of your day, and then the hopefully different number in the upper right-hand corner. Did anybody's number from the left-hand side to the right-hand side go down? Okay. How many people's numbers stayed the same? Okay. And how many people's numbers went up? Okay, all you people's numbers stayed the same. You can leave. I want to talk to this new group now. That is tremendous. That's like almost half the group. Now that is about a 60 to 120 second exercise of what looking at what you're grateful for will do for you. These same fraternity brothers that I kid about a lot said to me, we still cannot believe you're even on your feet after all the crap you've been through. We thought you'd be living under a bridge with a bottle of Jack Daniels. Well, I was saying this, I think, to Justina, if I remember. We have a choice in this world. You go left or right. I could have let all this death and destruction, there's a bunch of other stuff I haven't even told you about because I don't want to bore you. But I could have let that define me and be, oh, look, I mean, it's like, it's so funny. Like, I just decided, once I made the decision to live and not go to the bridge and raise these kids and take a passion like gratitude and change lives and go help soldiers, you know, after all, if you want to help yourself, help other people. People still say to me, are you the speaker? Man, you're dressed pretty well. And I always want, what do you want? Which one's the speaker, the guy with the gratitude guy? He's in the corner in the jeans, he's crying. I mean, I guess I could look like crap, but you make a choice. I mean, I've had bad stuff happen to me, but I'm not going to let it define me. But it is a choice. That is something that, so I do videos on that every so often. It is a choice that we make, and it's so powerful. So thank you. Please hold on to that card. You got this one thing on the one hand, how somebody sees you, and on the second hand, you see what gratitude can do for you. If you want to get a gratitude journal, great. But so here's the next thing I want to talk about. And I'm going to come back to the gratitude journal the rest before I wrap up. I've always done 5 modules. Embrace gratitude. Takes as long as it takes. Never give up. Make room for gratitude. Clean out your brain. Get a gratitude journal. Of course, in the high schools. Do you have an app? Where's my phone? I actually do have an app. You know, I'm so grateful that Laura invited me to the conference. It just types it. But it's not the same. It's just not the same as writing it. And you can go back and I can look and see all these things that have happened and what happened on this day in Kennewick and so forth. And it's very, very cool. It's 5 to 7 minutes is all it is. So after the gratitude journal, I'll come back to that before I wrap up. I said earlier, I think it's so powerful to have a great relationship with yourself. You have a great relationship with the person you see in the mirror. It's like a great Teflon. It's like an armor. It shields you from a lot of the gamma rays that come from us from every direction and attack us. When people, and you hold on to that card and when you're having a tough day, you look and you see what somebody else wrote about you. Maybe somebody didn't even know you. I find you inspiring. That's why Mary Sue, I love her smile. I just met her, you know. Think how powerful that is. But you've got to get a connection with the person in the mirror. So for people that we know that don't have a lot of self-esteem, I offer this example. It's a $20 bill. Andrew Jackson. Now, if I just come out in the audience and I just say, here this is, how many people would just take the bill by show of hands? There's always a few don't raise your hands. I go, really? It's not like counterfeit. I'm always expecting 100%. And there's a few, I don't know, is there a trick? No. I'm just like, ask Laura, I'm an honest person. But I think most people would take it, right? So if I do this, I want your all participation now. How many people would want it now? Thank you for participating. We get some more donuts in here. If I do this, crunch it, step on it, how many people want it now? Thank you. You guys are great. And if I smooth it out and look at Andrew Jackson and I go, you're a piece of crap, you're worthless, I don't even know why you're on this earth. You have no point, no purpose, anything. Andrew Jackson looks back at me and goes, I don't give a flip what you say. I'm still worth 20 bucks. Would you guys all still want it? Yep. So why is it we let people crush us, step on us, tell us we're worth less than something? You're not worth 20, you're not worth 15, you're not worth 10. In fact, you're not even worth $5, you're worth $1. It's happened to all of us. Why do we let that happen? By people in our lives. But Andrew Jackson says, I'm still worth 20. Whatever you say about me, I don't care. And I'm going to tell you, I love to get through to men and women, but when I do this, I have a lot more women come up and talk to me about some of the things that the male of the species has told them, which I don't understand, to determine their value. Well, that's super, Dave. Why are you doing that little talk or that little exercise? Because that again comes back to what gratitude will do for you. When you're getting on that card and when you see how life can be looked at from the glass half full, the abundance mentality versus the scarcity mentality, that is what will happen. And you'll frame it around that whole idea of what you have versus what you don't have. And it doesn't take somebody else to define you as who you are as a person. And when you go, and again, high stress jobs, I always really think about who I'm talking to. Was it safe to say you guys are in a high stress job? I think so. Well, to me, it's even more important. No disrespect for a person that's running a street sweeper or something. I don't know. But I mean, I think that's a little lower stress than what you guys do. So to me, it's even more incumbent to have extra good tools. That's a word. Find yourself. That relationship you have in the mirror is so critical. Find your passion. How do you find your passion? People say to me all the time, well, you know, you found your passion. Well, it took me 40 years. I had to have Dana die and all these other things happen, and I had to figure out if I'm not going to go kill myself. And I don't mean to be flip about that, but it was a choice. I needed some tools. So a guy says to me recently, he takes out a card. I guess I don't need it. Michael Hartzell. We're having lunch, and he writes down on a piece of paper, and he hands it to me, and it says, David Brook, $1 million. Now, Mike's got a lot of money. I don't think he has that much. And he signs his name and he hands it to me. We're having lunch. Would you take this? Would you cash it if it was good? And just as I'm ready to say yes, of course, he goes, oh, wait a sec. Wait a sec. Before you cash it, I need to tell you something. You have to stop being the gratitude guy today. Can't do this anymore. Would you do it? And it took me about a second to say no. No, I wouldn't do it. Because I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. So apparently, I couldn't be bought for even $1 million, as handy as that would be after going through a lot of financial hardship. So to me, so I look at each one of you. What is your passion? You may do this the rest of your life. Maybe the most passionate thing you ever do. I talk about that dash that you have there. That's your life. But somewhere, if it's not this, find something you're passionate about. Once again, somebody says, well, how do you find that? Well, one of the ways you find it is you can use little tricks. You can say, if I had $5 million a day put into my bank account, something you couldn't possibly spend, what would you do? People, oh, I'd buy a car. I know, after all that stuff's done, what would you do? And you can maybe figure out what your purpose is. But I think it's really important, because I said earlier, I do believe most people want to find their purpose. And I think if you find yourself, you find your passion, and I think you'll find your purpose. Now, there's other people that don't seem to care, and that's okay. But for those that do, there's some pretty neat little exercises that you can do. So I want to go back to embracing gratitude, an attitude of gratitude. It's such a neat way to live. It's such a great mindset. This idea about, I don't care how old you are, it takes as long as it takes, don't ever give up. Get rid of the crud. By the way, my video last Monday was, or the Monday before, was remove the negative people for your life. And I've gotten a lot better at getting rid of some of the negative people in my life. They're not the worst people in the world, but they can really bring you down. So you have to think about who you are associating with. And I remember something was more of a financial thing once. They said you can determine somebody's net worth by the average net worth of their 5 closest friends, or it was something along that line. But it was really interesting. But I'll tell you what I don't want to do. And fortunately, I made it through this with Nordstrom and Lowe's and all those kinds of things. I don't want to be the person that works at Boeing that has this happen. A gal that I do workshops with told me about, they had this game. Every single month, they had a game. They cut out the little piece of paper that showed Fred Jones retiring from the wing assembly section of the 747. And they put it up on the bulletin board, and then they had a little deal of yarn in the drawer, and then he put a little piece of yarn over here, and 3 months later was his obituary. All the time. 3 months, not 3 years, 3 months. And so if you figure out, and this is why I'm so passionate, as if you can't tell, about the whole gratitude thing, because when you focus on what you have, there's a lot more likely of a chance that you're going to figure out that connection with you, the part you're passionate about, and probably the purpose that you're going to have. So it's a big, big difference. John Lennon, a lot of people don't know this, was 8 years old. I think he was in 3rd grade. And they're going around the room, and they said, the teacher says to John Lennon, what do you want to be when you grow up? John Lennon looks back at the teacher and goes, happy. The teacher looks at John Lennon and goes, you don't understand the assignment. John Lennon looks back at the teacher and goes, you don't understand life. Kind of a typical. Well, the reason I bring that up is because one of the books I did is called Happiness Starts with Gratitude. I don't know if you can truly be happy, in my opinion, unless you're grateful. Maybe. And you see a lot of people that go after money, go after other things in life, and they wonder why they're miserable. And I was doing a talk. That's why the John Lennon quote I think is so cool. I was doing a talk, and my phone, I use my phone a lot, of course, to time, 60 seconds for this and so on, and my phone beeped, and I was timing, and here's a text. It was right in the middle. It was up at Fidalgo Bay, I think. Here's a text from my friend. He says, do you think Robin Williams would have been benefited by a gratitude journal? And they just found that he had killed himself. And boy, there's an example of somebody on the surface that looks like they have a lot. So it's hard to say, but I just, again, offer it so much as a tool. And again, I think that it's something that we all look at it differently, but I'm getting to the point now where I'm around people that complain. I give them like some of these same fraternity brothers. That's what they named me, the Brooker. That's when I was in college. That was my nickname, the Brooker. I need a dose of the Brooker because I'm kind of a high energy guy. And then they call me, I'm having a tough time, can you talk? And I said, have you written in your gratitude journal yet? No. I go, well, you know what? Write in your journal and call me back. I'm tired of people that, I'll be their training wheels, but I'm not going to pedal their bike. You got to do your own work. So I recommend it highly. One of the last things I talk about, I'm going to wrap up here in a few minutes, sharing gratitude. Embracing gratitude, it takes as long as it takes, never give up, make room for gratitude, clear out your brain, get a gratitude journal, I highly recommend it. Find you, find yourself, find your journey, find your passion, find your purpose. And the last thing is sharing gratitude. I do a lot of work for Rotaries. Rotary's motto is service above self. Great, great, great motto. If you want to help yourself, help other people. Well, when you share things, and even though there's many days I didn't feel like sharing anything, I wasn't sure I'd even be able to get up. At some point, once you get back in the race again, you're able to share it. So I think about these friends of mine, and we're going to go skydiving. So I never did the drugs, I never did the smoking, the dope. I just didn't want to do that stuff, but I always did a lot of really crazy daredevil stuff. So I make a reservation for 10 the following Saturday. We're going to share this. We're all going to have fun. So on Monday, 2 of them call and cancel. And then on Tuesday, I get a call from a couple of them. I go, are you okay? I have a sore throat. I can't make it Saturday. So Saturday, I walk up to the skydiving place and walk to the counter. Can I help you? Yeah, Brooke, a party of 10. And he looks behind me and goes, where are all your friends? And I went, I don't have any. And I went by myself. And as I mentioned, when I do the church thing, I do certain pictures. And I remember looking at the huge screen, and there I am. I'm gritting my teeth. I'm like scared to death, jumping. It's just a static line. I'm jumping out of the thing, by myself. It's the only little picture. But I never got to share it. It really, really bothered me. So here's what I'd like you to do. How many people, by show of hands, you guys, I've been watching all the eye contact here. How many people have been on their smartphone since I've been talking? Damn, we got a lot of honest people here. And then, of course, you know what always happens? This is always someone, they come up later. See, I was making notes. I was on the notepad. Seriously, I wasn't checking my email because you're so boring. It was not like that. Seriously, here's another thing. And I go, it's okay, it's okay. Just caught you. And you see people, and I go, and they're whispering to their friend. It makes me laugh. So everybody take out your smartphones. Those of you that didn't have them, thank you very much for paying attention. But here's what I want to do. And for those of you that already had them out, go out, get off your email if you can. Just kidding. This is about sharing gratitude. So I'm going to give you 60 seconds. And here's what I'd like you to do. This is called the 4 T's. T is in the letter T. Text, tweet, telephone, or tell. Now, most people text. That's the world we're in. But I'm going to give you 60 seconds, and I want you to text, tweet, telephone, or tell, more than likely text, to somebody in your life how grateful you are to have them in your life. Go. 60 seconds. If you don't have anybody, my phone number is 2. No. Okay, and stop. And you can tell by the giggling what's happening. By the way, when I give you 60 seconds for that, I always kid about the high schools because I'm fortunate enough to go to schools a lot. In 60 seconds, they've knocked out like 7 or 8 texts. It just blows my mind. I've never seen something go so fast. As I mentioned, when I'm out front, I don't have time in a group this size, but please come by and show me your text because it never fails. I was at, I think it was Bothell High School, and it was a performing arts center, so the seats went up like this, and there was somebody right over here about 20 feet away, and she was actually using the telephone, which is rare because most people text. And she just is kind of going, yes, hi, and I'm assuming it's her husband. Hi, honey, yeah, I just want to let you know how grateful I am for you. And I just really appreciate you, and I'm just really grateful for you. And I don't know, some speaker just told me to call you and tell you. And I go, no, don't say it was me. And then other people, this is why I always get a kick out of the giggling, because do we do this enough? Probably not. But somebody will say, well, in the show, they'll show me the text, you know, I'm grateful for you too. What do you want? Yeah. And then what was the one the other day? Oh, I know, it was, are you sure you sent this to the right person? But it is something that is very, very powerful, and again, we don't do it enough. And I know I don't normally, about 5 more minutes, I don't normally do what I'm about to do, but I want to tell you guys something else, which I don't like to talk about. And I purposely left it out today, but now I'm going to mention it. So when I was talking about the 1 to 10, it's a tough subject for me to deal with. Another thing I dealt with is I had a mother that died of cancer, but she was manic depressive, bipolar. Back then it was called manic depressive. And I have 3 brothers and a sister, and I got it from her. And it was really, really tough to deal with. When you have a wife that dies of a prescription pill overdose, and I just can't deal with pills. I understand I'm not bad-mouthing antidepressants and things, but my mom, when I was 15 or 16, would call me, and she'd take her pills, and she'd shake them on the phone and go, you either come over and see me, or I will eat all these pills in the next 10 minutes, and I'll be dead before you get here. And it was sleeping pills back then. And my brothers and sisters used to always go, thank God, David, you went over there, because if she's dead, it's your fault. So I'd go over and see her. What do you do when somebody's depressed and they're suicidal? I know, I sat there and I talked to her and stuff, but I got it from her. And it really, really bothered me. I don't usually tell this. And people would say, you? Mr. High Energy, we know you've been through some stuff and everything, but I got it and it's horrible. It's like having a cascade of the mountain of rocks come down and crush you. And about a year or so ago, I woke up and I was a 1. And I can't get much more honest than that. And I thought, I don't get it. I've been through so much in my life, and this is ridiculous. Thanks, Mom. So I said, well, you better practice what you preach. That's why I feel so strongly about this. So I went to Starbucks, didn't even take a shower, and wrote in my gratitude journal. It took me up to about a 3 or 4. Felt a little better. And I never tell people what to write on those cards or in this journal. But I typically write about my health, my 2 sons, my friends, the Lauras of the world that invite me to places like this to help me build this and take this message as far as I can, etc., etc. It's a sunny day out. It's a zillion things to be grateful for. But when you're a 1, you don't think about it much. So then I was talking to this Burlington chamber, and I went up there, and about 200 people. It's about something similar this size. And after it was done, I get to sell my books, and people come up and they tell me their stories, they show me their texts and things like this. It's thrilling, absolutely thrilling, much better than running a Nordstrom or Lowe's or anything. Finding my passion. I encourage all of you to find yours at some point between now and when you leave this earth. This gal was coming in, she's crying. You just changed my life. She gives me a big hug. Her name was Janice. And I went back out that day. She got a couple journals for her sons. One was hooked on something, and it was a tough story that she told me. But I went out and sat in my car, and I was running this Lowe's at the time, and I just remember thinking, that's a hell of a lot more valuable than, hey, where's the hammers? I don't really give a shit. Sorry. Sorry. And I took the rearview mirror, and I looked at myself, and I went, I'm so frickin' proud of you. You're trying to do something. And all of a sudden I realized I was a 9.5. And I'd gone from a 1 to a 3 to a 4 to a 9.5. There wasn't a beer, there wasn't that white powder, there wasn't the green weed. It was simply writing in a gratitude journal and changing somebody else's life. Laura was telling me earlier today about a couple of people from my talk in Renton when she and I met. It always makes my day when somebody says you changed my life. Well, that's what gratitude, and that's what a gratitude journal can do for you. And that's still a tough story, because people will come up and tell me, well, because you said that, I'm going to tell you what happened to me. And I look at them and I'm like, you look like the most normal person I've ever seen. But you never know, because you cannot walk in those people's shoes. So, last thing I would say is that One more show of hands. How many people would like to improve some part of your day-to-day life? You guys are the best audience. Thank you. I think that's true. And I think there's a lot of people that, what's your greatest asset? Your home, your car, your bank accounts, whatever it might be. I think it's your ability to get up every day of your life, go to work and make your life tick, especially in jobs like yours where they're tough. It's even tougher, I think, than a lot of people that I get to speak to. The gratitude journal takes 5 to 6 to 7 minutes a day. I write very fast. And can people claim about their lives, but I don't know if they want to do anything about it. I think they want to hit the easy button, which is typically a pill. When I went through that bipolar crap, take 1, take 2, take 3, take 4, try this, do this, add this, subtract that, do whatever. I said, I can't. I just could never do it, and especially with Dana, I said, I just can't. But when you have something like this that's a tool, I just offer people, I said, try a gratitude journal. It works, and I feel I like to have fun and make people laugh and make a connection. But I really feel a gratitude journal, a gratitude mindset can change a life. It can transform a life. And I truly feel it can save a life. I feel it saved mine. Otherwise, I don't think I'd be here. And it can save yours too. Thanks a lot.
Well, apparently you all could hear me talking earlier on the radio, so I apologize for that. You're going to be quite sick of hearing me talk by the end of the day, I'm sure. Anyway, thanks again to David Brook. That